Hi everyone, I'm Hongsen,
And I'm Dallin.
and welcome to another episode of VICast. So, for a quick introduction, VICast is basically a series of podcasts that focuses on topics that is related to technology that is relevant to persons with vision impairment. All right, so today we are going to discuss a really interesting topic on artificial intelligence or AI.
So I guess before we begin, let's kind of like talk about what are the different AI apps that we use.
Right.
So Hongsen, starting with you.
Well, I mean, the AI apps within the VI space, that's a lot of eyes, but we can look at the main apps, the main three apps that I think we use quite often will be, Be My Eyes with their Be My AI integration now, Google Lookout for Android users, and Sing AI for those on the iPhone.
Right. So I guess one thing all of us would want to know, which is what are the AI apps we should use and when we should use them, or what is best to use.
Right. And I mean, these are the apps that helps us in a way that we really need more assistance with, which is vision related. So what they do is they do vision recognition in some ways or other, right? And of course, there are other apps that we use, the mainstream apps like your ChatGPT, your Gemini, so on and so forth. These are also apps that we use, but that one, I guess you can kind of talk about it later.
Right.
Because, well, as our conditions, are termed vision impairment, that is an impairment that we have. And what these developers aimed to do is to use AI to basically augment that. In a way, if you think of it like that, it's kind of like to use AI to furnish us with information that we lack due to a lack of vision. Well,
Right.
That's what it does, right? And it's been pretty interesting to go through this journey together because I think, as Dylan, you may remember, it started off quite some years ago, right? With Sing AI, maybe something like 8 years ago even.
Wow, that's actually quite long. I don't remember the date, but when I first used such an app like Sing AI, I was wowed, I guess. Is that the word you use? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive because for the longest time, we don't really have any smartphone apps or any solutions really to recognize things so quickly, so accessibly. Because there are paid options, of course. For the longest time, there are those expensive tools out there that we can, pay a subscription or buy a standalone device. And, they are what they are. Once you buy it, it's just that. Right? You can pay hundreds of dollars for such a tool. You don't have an upgrade path to it. It's not going to grow with you. And seeing AI in app form that is free, that was revolutionary, honestly.
Yeah. I think, for me, I always had issues with receipts, right? I don't know. So it's a weird thing to kind of find out what we spend, why we spend this amount. So last time I used to ask people who are able to read the receipts, or certain products we buy, some of them have warranty, right? So we want to just keep the receipt around. But us managing papers, it has always been a challenge, right? At least for me lah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sing AI, of course, the main function is usually to read or to help us to read written or printed text. That is an issue that we face. Like you said, Dylan, there's going to be like stacks of receipts or letters that we can't quite tell what they are exactly, and it's just a jumbled mess. So Sing AI solved that issue, and of course there are alternatives to that on other platforms because Sing AI started off being just on iOS, right? Yeah. So now actually it's on Android too, but in the past, for the longest time of its existence, it was only on iOS. So Google Lookout was introduced for Android users.
I guess for the longest period of time when Sing AI was not on Android, I think it took about many years. It only came out last year, right?
For Sing AI?
Yeah, Sing.
Yeah, it's something like end of 2023. Yeah.
I see. So last time you were using Android phone, right? So you use Google Lookout primarily, or?
Yeah, I did. I mean, that was kind of your only option. Well, okay, I take that back. That's not really your only option because there are other tools like and Vision AI, a few other solutions that are still out there. They are not as popular, but I think they were considered the pioneers, because in the past, if you remember, even on iPhones, there are apps like CanFind, or what's the other one called? Tap-C. Yeah. There are those apps that really existed long ago. They were the pioneers, but there were definitely limitations to those apps. And Sing AI is kind of like the all-in-one package, and Google Lookout on Android is its equivalent, basically.
So, of course, talking about these apps, right? Let's just say if we do a comparison with Sing AI and Google Lookout, what is this difference? How do we know? Now there's Google Lookout and Sing AI on Android, right? How do we know what to use?
Right, I think Google Lookout does have an advantage in terms of its guidance, because what it does is that it will tell you how to position your phone. Sting AI, on the other hand, does a bit of a different process where it actually tells you what you can see and what you can't see. So, for example, if you are trying to take a picture of a page, Google Lookout tells you move left, move right, move up, or move down, whereas Sing AI tells you, left corner not visible, right edge visible. Yeah.
In some sense, it does offer the same guidance, but at the same time, or rather, Google Lookout does a better job in guiding us to be able to kind of fit the paper within the frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
because
more intuitive.
Yeah, in a sense, it's more intuitive, because primarily these apps use the four corners of the paper to kind of like determine the document size, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because based on my experience training our clients, there are times when you find that the clients get a bit confused by what is Sting AI trying to say. What does it mean when you say a certain corner is not visible? How do you translate that into an action? And Google Lookout is a bit more straightforward, right? It just tells you move towards that direction that it needs you to move in. Yeah, so I thought that was great, actually.
I think you also brought out a very interesting point, because in my training journey, right, when I train my different clients, when you tell clients that there's such an app out there like Sing AI and Google Lookout, they're like shocked, because they feel like as a person with vision impairment, we may not be able to use the camera of the phones. I think that's a shocking factor to a lot of our clients, and some of them feels like it's really hard to position things within the camera. Right. So what's your take on this? With this guidance in Google Lookout, is it enough?
I mean, I think it could be better, honestly speaking. In the sense, all solutions could be better if we really put our minds to it. But to be fair, sometimes it's really a psychological thing. Like when we think blindness and then we think cameras, those two things don't really gel. Like if I'm visually impaired, how does a camera help me still?
Right.
And the fact that this information is provided to them, that really is kind of like a middle ground, I guess. In a sense that we can't really see the position, but at the very least, we still get information to assist with that process itself.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's true. Even just a camera app on iOS, it also, I believe it uses some level of AI, right, to kind of determine, if your face is centered, with objects like chairs, keyboards, stuff like that. It's able to detect those.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because the camera app itself, to help with taking pictures, it always offered the face detection function. Like it tells you how many faces are in the frame. And of course, Google took that to the next level with its framing function, where if you have a Google Pixel phone, it actually helps you to aim your shot if, let's say, it recognizes the object in frame. So, for example, pets, humans, or electronic devices, it actually tells you or directs you exactly like how Google Lookout does to frame the perfect shot. And once everything's in frame, it just automatically takes a shot for you. And to be honest, I think based on what I've heard from others, right, the results are actually quite decent.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I think I need to have a pixel lying around also. Sadly, I don't. Okay, so of course, now we talk about the document mode in Google Lookout and document mode in Sing AI. I think each of these apps also have their other modes, right? Of course, Google Lookout has many new modes, like the image mode, the find mode, the explore mode. Things like Sing AI have for a longer period of time the product mode, which I think Google Lookout also have, right?
Yes, but I mean, not to go too technical into it, but I think Sing AI definitely implemented it better lah, in a way. Because Google Lookout's library is a little bit limited. They don't support local products too well. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, some of the products, some of our local products, Sing AI also cannot really detect it lah.
True.
But I think you're not wrong in terms of product library. Sing AI does have a bigger library of products that they do recognize.
Yep.
And then Sing AI, of course, have the color mode. It roughly tells you what kind of color it is. Maybe you're wearing a shirt and you want to know what kind of color is it. I think this also helps. It may not be 100% accurate due to camera lighting and whatnot, but I think this also helps to bridge the gap, because I think what I heard from some of my friends, some of my clients, they tend to, in the past, they used to buy this color recognizer thing. Is it a color reader? I don't really know what it's called.
Yeah, I think there are a few of those out there.
Yeah, they tend to buy those and it's able to detect different colors. So I think that color mode may be quite beneficial to some of us. Right. Of course, there's also a handwriting mode where it's able to, similar to the document mode, it's able to detect text and handwriting. And then they also have the light mode, which I don't foresee myself using it. But basically, it's there to tell you, if it's bright or whether there's lights on or not.
Yeah, so for someone with total vision loss, that's actually helpful, because, I mean, if you imagine a use case like, let's say we want to use these other camera apps, for lack of a better term for them, right? You might want to know whether the environment is well lit or not, and the light mode actually can help you to figure out whether your light is on, is off, is it dim, is it too bright, before you move on to a separate app like maybe the other channels in Sing AI itself or the camera app, or actually to kind of like, use other apps even. Yeah.
Fair point. I think this use case, it's going to be rather beneficial for them. Right? Of course, another thing that I may have briefly talked about, which is the scene mode.
Yeah.
I think it's relatively similar to the explore mode.
Yeah, there's a scene mode and then there's a world mode as well. Or channel rather. Yeah. So these are all to basically help us identify landmarks or objects within our environment just through the camera itself. It's a very cool idea as of recording right now in early 2025. It's usable and functional, but of course, I think more work needs to be done to make this a more viable solution in terms of, let's say, helping us with mobility or just with getting around places, which I guess that is partly an aim for introducing such a channel. But still, I think it's been pretty impressive, honestly.
Okay. Of course, one more thing I just want to talk about before we head into apps like Be My Eyes, the Be My AI feature, which is, on our iOS, we have the Magnifier app, right? So within the Magnifier app, there's this thing called the detection mode. So with this detection mode, it's able to detect things like doors, things like, I think one of a very cool feature they have is the point to speak thing.
Yeah.
Where you can shine your camera at a paper and you can point at where you want it to read out the text. This could be pretty useful for some, maybe when they want to fill out certain forms or when they want to read certain hard copy stuff. I think when you're low vision and at the same time you want to know where you're pointing and what's reading, just to have like a full view, what you hear and what you see is exactly the same. I think having that feature is not that bad. It's pretty cool, very useful. But if I'm not wrong, it only works on the Pros and the Pro Max series, starting from iPhone 13? No, iPhone 12.
Maybe 12 or 13, somewhere around there.
I did try the door detection thing. I think it's pretty cool. I have had clients telling me that with the Magnifier app, they are able to kind of tell the bus numbers. I don't know how true that is because I have.
You definitely need some vision for that. I've tried it before.
Mm.
So I think the Magnifier app itself is probably designed for someone with some vision. Of course, there are some modes that don't really need vision, so your experience is going to differ a little bit, right? But some of these modes, like point to speak, definitely requires a bit of vision to be the most effective. And like, for example, the bus number detection with, the text mode, it does work, but you're going to get a lot of other text, or sometimes you get license plate or the passing cars also. Yeah.
Right. So let's hope, but in the future, there's something that can filter out those things that's supposed to be seen and those things that are not. Yeah. So I just want to talk. I just want to say that as technology keeps improving, what we're recording today, what we're talking about today may change. So we just need to keeping lookout for this, right? For example, the upcoming thing that we're going to talk about is Be My Eyes, the app Be My Eyes. That they rolled out a feature called Be My AI. It used to be beta, right, like testing only, but now it's like fully out already, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not exactly a new feature anymore. It's been out here for about more than a year actually. Yeah,
and I think it uses ChatGPT for some of its stuff after it recognizes.
and it uses ChatGPT 4 now, but I'm very sure the model that they use will also evolve over time as their models are released. Yeah.
Right. So basically how that app works, for some of you who haven't used it, is when you go into Be My Eyes, you can go into the Be My AI, the tab, and there's a take picture button near the bottom part of the screen, a bit above the tab bar, right? You can find the take picture button, or you can press your volume keys to snap a photo. When you snap a photo, you'll make a nice tone, telling you that it's loading, and then you just wait lah, right? Sadly, that picture will not be shown after it's snapped. It will just still showing you that camera screen. So hopefully they can, show you what is the picture that you have taken for those low vision to have a rough idea. And then after it's done loading, it actually kind of like throw out a very nice description of that picture. And it is the most detailed description I have ever seen. Comparing like the scene mode in Sing AI or the world mode, it's very detailed. It tells you up to the, like what color is the table, what color is the chair, a whole entire surrounding tells you, right? And then, of course, on top of that, you can have the Ask More feature. Okay, this is something that Sing AI also have, but I think Be My AI does a better job, right? The Ask More feature allows us to be able to ask more questions. Let's say I take a photo of Claire, right? Hong Sen's guide dog. We can ask questions like, what color is the fur if it doesn't tell us. We can ask what breed is it if it doesn't give us more context about it when we first took the photo. Okay, we're not asked is the eyes of the dog open or closed, things like that. And it's able to give an answer to it.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool, honestly. And it's quite shocking to think about how much these apps actually play a part in our daily lives now to improve the quality of lives. Because in the past we do have issues like, let's say, we don't know what's in front of us. And usually in the past it's just kind of, okay, that's it. But now we can actually take a picture, just any random picture, and we get a really detailed description. Having said that, I think it'll be also beneficial to mention that sometimes the descriptions that these AI apps produce can be a bit, shall we say, inaccurate?
Yeah, it could be inaccurate because every time when you use AI, there's always this bias there, right? And sometimes AI does hallucinates and it does gives you, interesting results. So same for taking of photos and stuff like that. Like it may not be as accurate as it seems.
Yeah.
But it may work 80-90% of the time, but there may be some times that it may not be fully accurate. So you have to also trust your own judgment, right?
True. And it's good to know some context so that at least you can verify. That's why, for example, the Be My AI function is so useful when you can, go to the Ask More function and basically query the AI. to understand a bit more about the image itself. And sometimes one thing that I do is that if it tells me something, I'll just ask it again. Like, oh, is this thing that you are seeing what you describe it as? Like, for example, it says, oh, the picture shows 2 black dogs. Now ask, oh, how many black dogs are there? Or are the dogs black? Sometimes just questions like this to just query it back to make sure that the description is actually correct. And sometimes it does correct itself also.
I think one thing that AI finds it a bit hard. AI finds things hard. That's pretty strange. But AI finds it hard to count, or rather, AI can't really count stuff properly sometimes.
True.
Sometimes when you ask AI to give you a list of 10 items, it doesn't know what 10 is. So it may give you like 5 items only, right? So AI is not that good in terms of that, right? It can't really count.
Yeah, I think in summary, think of AI like this right now. It's basically like asking a kid to help you with stuff.
It's a kid that is smart, but at the same time, it has its own downfalls as well. It's not fully perfect.
Yeah, it's still a kid ultimately. It's like, it's really smart. It knows a lot of things. Yes, a lot of things at its fingertips. But, kids being kids, sometimes its concentration may slip a little bit. Sometimes it's just a case of it getting confused with other things that are within the environment. So it's just something to take note of. Really useful, really good. But when you use it, do just keep in mind that you may need to be a bit cautious sometimes, right? Not to say that it's not reliable or we shouldn't use it at all. In fact, just from personal experience itself and also from training, it has really benefited a lot of people.
Just note that some of the modes that I didn't really cover, or some of the modes you find in the AI app, I didn't really cover every single mode or share with you guys. I hope that you all will take some time to explore some of these apps as well. Okay, these apps are crucial to kind of allow you to do many things. For example, if you want to scan your receipts, or you want to find out, what currency this is, or you want to find out, what's the surrounding like. Yeah, these are some of the things that AI can help you with. Of course, when we talk about other form of AIs used in like mainstream people also use, so we have things like ChatGPT, we have Copilot, Gemini, and many more models that are coming out. These AI tools can help you with various things. Could be writing, could be crafting a resume, creating cover letter, writing a complaint letter,
How to improve your writing just in general.
Yeah, and of course, one thing that you may think it may not be very useful is image generation. I think it comes to the same point, right? Why would a visually impaired want to do things like image generation? For me, I think image generation is something cool. It may be a tool that allows us to illustrate our points to people who are able to see. There are people who learn things by graphics. They are visual learners, right? So I think image generation could be an avenue that kind of bridge this gap. Also, maybe we have some ideas, but we don't know how to describe this idea to them in such a way that they can understand. So I think image generation is one avenue that we can tap on. I think if you use Meta AI's image generation, it's kind of a bit better than ChatGPT's or Copilot's image generation. Of course, there are many other tools, that may do a better job.
Yeah, definitely. This topic of AI can be pretty deep, and we can talk about it for like a really, really long time, which unfortunately we don't have right now because this podcast is getting a bit long. But if you do require support in using these apps for persons with vision impairment or just general AI apps that Dylan has mentioned, feel free to reach out to us for further support.
Right. So in conclusion, we can say that some of these AI tools are useful, and they are definitely very useful, but each of these tools are used for different purposes. For example, if you want to scan documents, and if you have an Android phone, you may want to use Google Lookout. But if you want the format to stay, you have to use Sing AI, right? If you want to kind of explore more of your surroundings, you may use apps like Be My Eyes, the feature Be My AI. So various of these tools will help you with your day-to-day operation, whether is it finding out what receipts, what is on your receipts, what letter you have received, Use the app that will help you give you the best result, and at the same time, use it wisely and do not use AI for any harmful purposes.
Or rather, do not use the AI apps for any purposes may put yourself in harm as well, such as, maybe reading traffic signals. That may not be the safest of things to do right now.
Right.
Right.
So AI will continue to grow. We will continue to sit and explore the different things that happens in the AI world. Right. Trust me, there are AI news every single day, and every single day things are different. It's going very, very fast, and it becomes rather fragmented. So just keep your eyes open and explore more. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of VICast, and we hope to see you back in future episodes.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And
Right.
we'll see you shortly.
Okay, goodbye.